Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. So, have you ever wondered how multi-million-dollar organizations make those massive, high-stakes choices when the future is, quite frankly, a complete mystery? Well, spoiler alert, they definitely don't just guess. Today, we're diving into the brilliant concept of the sequential decision tree, and we're going to do it using a high-stakes, real-world case study. We're going to see how you can replace blind guessing with structured, strategic forecasting and actually calculate your expected outcomes. Let's get right into it.
All right, here's our roadmap for today. First, we're navigating business uncertainty. Then, we'll meet our case study, PakCare Pharma, build out their 3-year strategic map, calculate the expected value, and finally, look at how all of this actively evolves their business model. Let's jump in. Section 1. Navigating business uncertainty, or as I like to call it, making moves in the dark.
Think about it. Organizations operate in incredibly wild, uncertain environments. A strategic manager cannot just draft a rigid 5-year plan, stick it in a drawer, and cross their fingers, right? Future decisions depend entirely on dynamically changing market conditions. Things like aggressive new competitors, sudden government regulations, or shifting customer behavior. Because of this utter unpredictability, managers have to make decisions sequentially. This means crafting a dynamic strategy where every single future step hinges entirely on the outcomes of your earlier decisions.
Moving on to Section 2. Let's meet PakCare Pharma, a high-stakes hypothetical. To really ground this abstract concept, we need a protagonist. Enter PakCare Pharma Pvt. Limited. They're sitting right in the middle of Pakistan's branded generic medicine market, manufacturing antibiotics, cardiovascular meds, you name it, and they're doing great. Their 2024 annual profits are sitting at a very healthy 250 million Pakistani rupees, but they're caught in a serious tug-of-war. On one hand, they have massive opportunities, rising healthcare spending and booming private hospitals. On the flip side, some pretty scary threats loom large. Brutal exchange rate volatility, inflation, and a really heavy reliance on imported active pharmaceutical ingredients, or APIs. It is literally the perfect setup for a complex decision-making puzzle.
Which brings us to Section 3, the 3-year strategic map, choosing the path.
So how exactly does PakCare's management survive this minefield? They build a 3-year strategic map. Think of it as mapping out alternate realities from 2025 all the way to 2027. Chronologically, you can really see the flow of time here. In 2025, they hit decision node 1, which is instantly followed by chance node 1. Basically, what the unpredictable market decides to do. Moving to 2026, depending on how year 1 played out, they face decision node 2 and then chance node 2. Finally, all these branching, sequential paths end up at the 2027 terminal payoff outcomes. It's a comprehensive blueprint of every possible future.
Let's zoom in on year 1. Right out of the gate in 2025, PakCare has 2 distinct paths. Option A is an aggressive domestic market expansion. We're talking boosting the sales force and launching new variants, which requires a 200 million rupee investment. Option B is export capability development. This targets Africa and the Middle East, requiring regulatory certification upgrades, and that's a heavier 250 million rupee bet. We are talking about massive initial financial stakes on day 1. Which way should they go?
Well, here is the catch. No matter which path they choose, they immediately slam into a chance node. These are the market states, the totally unpredictable realities after a choice is made. Forecasts show a 60% probability of a favorable market. That means stable exchange rates and high medicine demand. Awesome, right? But there's a 40% probability of a challenging market. That brings currency depreciation, inflation, and price controls. These chance nodes instantly split our timeline into either booming profit margins or a serious cash flow crunch. Now let's see how this builds in year 2. Assuming they survive the market chaos of year 1, they face a second strategic double down. Option 1 is to build a new manufacturing plant. That is a colossal 600 million rupee investment to ramp up production and get export ready. Option 2 is a comparatively safer 250 million rupee play to enhance their R&D. The absolute key takeaway here is that this gigantic 600 million rupee choice in year 2 isn't made in a vacuum. It depends entirely on the financial muscle they built or lost in year 1.
All right, Section 4. Calculating expected value, rolling back the math.
Okay, we've fully mapped out the alternate realities. Now it's time to shift from strategy to hard math. If we distill all those branching paths, we get a matrix of final cumulative cash flow outcomes for 2027. This combines the initial decision, the first market state, the second decision, and the final market state. Check this out. If PakCare goes with domestic expansion, hits a favorable market, builds the plant, and the market stays favorable, boom, they hit the absolute best-case scenario, a massive terminal payoff of 1,650 million PKR. But if they hit a challenging market, build the plant, and things stay challenging, that payoff plummets to 550 million. That is a wild spread of risk and reward.
So if you're standing in 2025, how on earth do you mathematically pick the best path when the final payoffs are 3 years away? You use rollback analysis to calculate expected monetary value, or EMV. You are literally rolling the math backward from 2027. For instance, if year 1 was favorable, you take that $1,650 million payoff, multiply it by our 60% favorable probability, and then add the $850 million challenging payoff multiplied by its 40% probability. That equals 1,330. You do the same calculation for the R&D option, grab the higher number, and roll those winning values all the way back up the tree to your very first choice.
And when you crunch all the numbers in that complete rollback analysis, a clear winner actually emerges, an expected monetary value of 1,078 million PKR. What does this mean? It means choosing domestic expansion in year 1 and subsequently choosing to build the plant in year 2 mathematically offers the highest expected return. The export strategy only yielded an EMV of 872 million, so statistically, this domestic-to-plant route is optimal. It gives them tighter operational control, better economies of scale, and a really strong long-term competitive advantage.
Which leads us to Section 5, Evolving the Business Model, Strategy in Action.
Now, we have to remember, these strategic choices aren't just abstract numbers on a spreadsheet. In the real world, this winning mathematical path actively rewires PakCare's business model canvas over the 3 years. Because they are expanding domestically and eventually building a massive physical plant, their operations completely shift. Their key partners immediately evolve. They're going to heavily rely on API suppliers and strict regulatory agencies, and their key activities scale way up, demanding intense manufacturing and rigorous compliance just to keep that new plant running safely and profitably. And here is why this is absolutely crucial. The very fundamental way PakCare creates value transforms. Their value proposition graduates from pure affordability, shifting heavily towards superior quality assurance and export-grade reliability. Because of that, their revenue streams level up too. We're talking future growth driven by lucrative hospital tenders and premium products. These sequential decisions didn't just pick a path on a graph, they actively engineered a much stronger, high-value company. Which brings us to a critical final thought. As market information unfolds over time, is your business making rigid, isolated choices and just hoping for the best, or are you mapping out dynamic, sequential strategies? True strategic management is all about embracing uncertainty. You've got to structure your forecasting, respect those unpredictable chance nodes, and roll back the math to find your optimal path. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this leaves you inspired to master the unpredictability in your own strategic planning. Keep mapping those futures, and I'll catch you next time.